Hi and welcome from the nice warm desert. I think we're going to be something like the 56th day this year at temperatures above 110. Yesterday was 115, on the way to getting hot. I'm not complaining, that's what we signed up for. I'm just thinking about Danny up in the Colorado Springs area. There's snow going on, or low temperatures. Well, in any case, this is just another segment in the ongoing series, the Leon and Joe show. This has to do with the second trip to Paris. Um, at this time, I had lost probably half my body weight. I had bariatric surgery, a lap band installed. Like I said, I went from 350 to about 175. And I was probably in the best shape of my adult life. And I, unfortunately, feeling so well, maybe planned too aggressive a trip to Paris. I say that only because I was 69 in great shape, and Joe was 6 years older, and it pushed him. Okay, but it was also an opportunity to do something that had the end result of getting a nice warm feeling. There are very few times in life when you get a chance to do something, and when you get done you say, wow, that was nice. Random act of kindness, call it what you will. Joe had a long-term hobby. He developed a liking for French Impressionist painters. His Saturday afternoon and evening for a long time started with a trip to the Warren Public Library, getting out a reference book, and then prepared to his room for the evening, a bottle of gin, the vermouth, a little anchovy stuffed olives, and a beer, and he pulled out this book and he just waded through it, enjoying the work done by these French Impressionists. Monet. In fact, that was his joke. If you want to make some money, you should get a Monet. Another guy was Manet, Degas, Toulouse-Lautrec, Van Gogh, all French Impressionists. Well, it turns out I'd found out that the majority of the paintings that were generated by these guys was held in a museum in Paris, Musee D'Orsay. It had been a train station on the left bank of the Seine River, and it got converted into this museum. Well, Joe didn't know about it, and I had planned secretly to go ahead and stop there. So we got to Paris. I previously told you some of the exciting thing that happened to us on the way over, and that we had reset the alarm clock improperly, and but we did get to Paris fine. That evening we went to the Louvre and we walked through that museum, and the next day we got to Notre Dame. Mom had passed, but Joe and I went into Notre Dame Cathedral and lit a candle. And the next thing we did is this is in the Ile des Cités, which is this island in the middle of the Seine River. We got on the subway and crossed over to the left bank, and our next stop was this Musee D'Orsay. And he says, what's going on here? I said, Joe, play dumb. I read that, this has got some neat paintings maybe we want to stop and look at. And he says, fine. As we're walking in the doorway, we pass by a sculptor. It's by Rodin, and it's called A Thinker. And he's kind of sitting like this, and Joe points with a finger, and I said, yeah, that I had recognized it. So we walk in the door, and we just kind of had an idea what's going on. I could see him just melt. We started walking through. There's 2 floors of galleries, and I just let him be. He was just having the time of his life. I had no special appreciation for these guys, but it's a very unique style, and we must have spent at least 2 and possibly 3 hours in the museum. I didn't push him because he was having the time of his life. But as we got finished, we walked out the door, and he gave me a big hug, and he says, "Thanks a lot." And I said, "Did you know that?" I says, "Yes, I did." So this cut the time available for a trip. One of the things we had planned to do for a long time is we wanted to get on a boat and float down the Seine River with a snifter of cognac and just admire the city of Paris as we floated by. And sure enough, so we're sitting on it. It was kind of a gloomy day, not rainy, but overcast, a little cool. So we're in this boat, glassed in, and just enjoying. So we get back from that. I looked at the clock, and I says to Joe, "This has been a long day. We were scheduled to go over to the Eiffel Tower, and there's something else there that we wanted to see." And I said, "Joe, I've had just about all I can enjoy." And he looked at me and he says, "Me too." So I said, "Why don't we go to the train station, get there an hour early, get a drink, maybe a little meal or a sausage, and then leisurely wait for the train, take it back to London." And he said, "Oh, that'd be great." So we did. We got on the subway, got to the train station. As we're walking through the door, we got our day cases with us, cameras, and I look at the clock, and I realized what had happened. Crossing over from London to Paris, there's a time change. You're going from one time zone to the next. And of course, I did it the wrong way. Instead of gaining an hour, I left an hour, something like that. In any case, it was a major oh shit. I thought we had a 1 hour gap, and we were already 1 hour behind. So as we entered the door of the train station, I saw the clock, and I said, "Joe, we got a boogie." Well, he looks at me, I said, "We gotta go, we gotta run." "All right." So there's these 2 guys running down the station, and the way it's set up is at ground level, and all the tracks that come into the station are at an upper level, and it's like gates to an airline. You have to climb up a flight of stairs, and there's a track with the train. So we finally get to the one where the tunnel a train takes off from, and we climb up the stairs, and here's the 2 of us out of breath, and there's a couple of guys sitting there in a conductor's uniform and cap, just like in a Clouseau movie. They're leaning against the wall, and they're cleaning their fingernails almost, And I look, and I said, "Where's the train to London?" He says, "That left an hour ago." Joe looks at me, and I go, "Oh." So then I told him what happened. But a nice thing was, there's 2 big guys. Nobody's we're not physically intimidated by anybody. We didn't have wives, we didn't have kids, half family. We're just 2 guys with an American Express card. I said, "Well, what do? We just have to take the train tomorrow." "Yeah, all right." So we walked out of the train station, and just a block away was a nice little hotel. Walked in and see if they had a room, and there was a guy who spoke excellent English, probably was an Anglo. And he said, "Yeah, we got a room." So we got a room for the night, and he recommended a restaurant just down the way. We went and had a great meal. I think we shared a bottle of wine maybe, and they were just excellent. Came back to the hotel and left word that we wanted to get up early, knowing that there was a train going like 7:30. So we get there in plenty of time, and there's a very pretty girl in a uniform, a blazer, a ruffled blouse, very pretty girl, and asked if she could help us. And I says, "Yeah, we were supposed to catch a train to London last night, and we just miscalculated the time, and we missed, and just wondering if we could get a seat on the train to go back to London, the next train." She said, "Well, let me see what we can do." And she came back with a sheaf of papers, and she says, "Here you go. You've got a compartment on the tunnel for the next train." And I said, "Wow, that's great. How much will you owe?" He said, "Oh, no, your tickets are good from yesterday. Have a nice day," kind of thing. But she spoke with a delightful little accent. So we got on a train, an uneventful trip home, and it turned out to be one of the more enjoyable trips that we had to Paris. Uh, I felt a little bad in that I, physically stressed Joe, and it was, I think, the last trip that we took where it required a lot of this kind of thing to happen. But in any case, I just have a very pleasant memory of providing this for Joe and surprising him. And like I say, I got a warm feeling, and to this day, I'll think of going to Paris with him, and I'll kind of lift my eyes up to heaven and just mentally say to myself, Joe, thank you very much for making these kind of adventures happen. God bless you all. I hope you enjoyed listening to the story as much as I enjoyed telling it. Be well, my friends. We're going to try and cool off here in the desert. One of these days the monsoon will show up, hopefully. A little rain and a little cooler. At least we don't have snow in the forecast for a while. Good afternoon, folks. Bye now. Fritzy.